Hello, it's a wonderful afternoon here in Cagayan de Oro City. Today is 24th of April 2017. This episode is brought to you by Philippine Information Agency in partnership with Limkit Kailaks Hotel and through the support of Parasite Cable TV. I am Jam Rukat, and with me is none other than the General Manager of Limkit Kailaks Hotel, Mr. Jerome De La Fuente. Good afternoon, Jerome.
Good afternoon, Jam, and to all the televiewers and media and bloggers present here. We are seen in Cagayan de Oro through Parasite Cable TV and in the region-wide cable stations and even worldwide. PIA's YouTube channel, as well as the New York City TV station that now airs our telecasts.
All right. So yes, Jerome. So our topic for today is about ASEAN. This year, the Philippines takes the helm of ASEAN chairmanship, and it's also ASEAN's 50th anniversary. So there are a lot of activities. Among them were the official launching and hosting of ASEAN 2017 in Davao last January 15 and investment program launching on January 24 in Malacanang Palace.
So what's ASEAN? By the way, why was it just launched in Davao and not in Cagayan de Oro?
Yes, maybe our president is from Davao, and that's a very good starting point to present what Mindanao could bring to the rest of the world.
One thing I would like to make clear to everybody who watches us on is it's the only time now that the president of the country is coming from Mindanao. We should be able to make in the next 5 years, he is already going to finish his first year, how we can put forward Mindanao. Because you know, Mindanao has always been known as the Wild Wild West. Now that the president is here, he's really pushing for Go Mindanao, which we have some launchings done in Mindanao, in Davao. That's why we encourage people to come to Cagayan de Oro or to the rest of Mindanao, not necessarily, but because Cagayan de Oro is the gateway to Mindanao, well, Davao is the back door to Mindanao. Let's put it this way. Anyway, let's watch the video about ASEAN so we can more or less see what really it's all about, especially the 4 pillars that's very important for this discussion.
The ASEAN is an organization founded on August 8, 1967. It was built to promote cooperation in the socio-cultural, economic, and political security pillars of the region. The Philippines will assume chairmanship of ASEAN 2017, which also coincides with the 50th year of the regional community. As the chair, the Philippines champions positive change in the community to produce a unified voice in the world. 6 thematic priorities were laid down to outline what the community needs in achieving holistic growth and development. Several major elements, outcome documents, policies, and agenda make up each of the 6 thematic priorities. A people-oriented, people-centered ASEAN. The ASEAN community puts its citizens' welfare at the center of its priorities, where the rights are protected and their well-being recognized as the key to the region's progress. Peace and stability in the region. This thematic priority aims to uphold peaceful coexistence and regional cooperation among its member states. Maritime security and cooperation. This adheres to the rule of law for the peaceful resolution of disputes and the preservation and protection of maritime resources. Inclusive innovation-led growth. This will provide opportunities for business growth and will help improve regional capacity in responding to the demands of the global economy. Resilient ASEAN. This will cultivate a sustainable region that's prepared and responsive to disasters. And lastly, ASEAN. A model of regionalism, a global player. As one, the community aims to showcase its various capacities as a global player in the international arena. These 6 priorities will forge the future towards ASEAN's vision of an inclusive, united, and progressive community. As the past has united us, it is our promised future that will make us stronger. We are one ASEAN. This is our journey. This is our future. Together. ASEAN 2017. Partnering for change. Engaging the world.
All right, so one of the pillars of ASEAN is the ASEAN Economic Community. We are thankful to have with us to discuss various programs and projects of the government to help our economic community. Let us welcome the Senior Trade and Development Specialist of Department of Trade and Industry, Mr. Erwin Jason Hamaka.
Good afternoon, Jam, and good afternoon, Sir Jerome. In behalf of the Department of Trade and Industry, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude for inviting us over this show. This is one of the best way to magnify the communication about ASEAN.
Okay.
That's good to hear, but I'd like you to first tell me, or tell the viewers, what is ASEAN economic connectivity? What is ASEAN? What are the declarations regarding the ASEAN economic connectivity? And lastly, are we going to be like the EU? You know, we're very solid as an ASEAN. Having to discuss as part of it is, because China is in the ASEAN region, the US is coming. Tell us more all about the ASEAN.
It would be best to start with that the rest of the world is just too big either to ignore as a market or as a competitor. ASEAN being not being in the forefront of the world's economy, if individually we would only be composing of less than 1% of the world's economy, but together we could, and with collaboration we could be the 7th in the world's economy. The key thing there is just to collaborate. The key thing there is to unify. As these 10 member countries could be better off together rather than playing as an individual country. Again, the ASEAN, by its etymology, it's called the ASEAN Association of Southeast Asian Nations, wherein 10 member countries collaborate for peace building, for progress, and to look into the general welfare of its people. And that's basically the whole point of collaboration, coming together as one, as ASEAN.
That's good to hear. But
Yep.
okay, when you say ASEAN, you have 10 nations, all agreeing, there must be some challenges regarding this. Would you know offhand, what are the challenges, like being from DTI, what are the challenges you foresee? Because the ASEAN is always a discussion.
Yes.
We have the ASEAN trade, we have the ASEAN tourism, but are we really in Mindanao benefiting from this? I have yet to see this happen. It's usually the big cities like Manila, Cebu, or maybe Davao. When do we find them here in our shores?
Actually, the government, it's all about country-to-country collaboration. It's all about interagency collaboration. It's all about public-private partnership, and even the academia. It's all about, again, collaboration. The things that are happening here in Cagayan de Oro, more specifically, are the ASEAN is more felt, being Cagayan de Oro being the gateway to Mindanao. One, the government is already intensifying its assistance to improve productivity. The government is also intensifying its assistance in terms of knowledge building. The Department of Trade and Industry, for example, we have our Kapatid Mentor Me program, wherein our micro, small, and medium enterprises are mentored to be more competitive. We also have productivity programs that would actually improve their products to make it globally competitive. We also have different marketing platforms that would allow their products to be exportable and be traded worldwide. So I think those are just basically the things that are just teasers to present the government interventions and make ASEAN integration more felt in this area of Cagayan de Oro.
Where does the K-12 come in ASEAN?
The K-12 program of the Department of Education comes in knowledge building process. We have to level up in terms of our education system. We have to be at par with other countries. And that way, we would not have difficulties in terms of our accreditation requirements should we go to other countries to work. Those are basically the things that would talk about knowledge building program of the government.
Let's go back to education, because here there's a particular issue here, this K-12. Are there enough teachers to handle the K-12 program? Because don't forget, we followed a different educational system as against, let's say, the British and the Americans. Like, for instance, if you come from a Catholic school, like I do, we have 1 to 7. But prior to that, I took the preparatory. Then you take the 1 to 7, and then you have another 4 more years for high school till you go into the university, or what you call the college. Now, as against the public school, which is 1 to 6, then 1 to 4, and then another 4. If you're lucky, you're taking it 4, or if not 5, depending on what you want to be. How do we fare now with regards to, for instance, with Singapore or Malaysia? In that educational concept, are we getting enough people to teach? Or we are just following because it was an order coming from them that we have to be uniform so that we can get into their curriculum? I went into the curriculum when I finished in LaSalle, but when I went to NUS, National University of Singapore, I didn't have to be adjusting. And on top of that, I was teaching. There was no adjustment on my part. So I was wondering, how are we faring with the K-12? That's one issue, which is ASEAN in principle. Then comes the trade portion. Now that you said earlier that we're going to have our SMEs here in Cagayan de Oro be of par with our neighboring countries. What really program? Because we can all recite the programs, but is there a case study, or is there somebody that we have done that is successfully going into the market now that we're from Mindanao, or Cagayan for that matter? All I want to see is that you will see made in Cagayan de Oro. That's what I'm looking for in this kind of business. Not only do I say made in Mindanao, no, I particularly want to see made in Cagayan de Oro, Mindanao. What have we done about it? I know I have seen a lot of this mentoring stuff because we sold it upstairs. But have they really gone to Manila or even beyond the shores of Manila?
We would be seeing more of the products of Mindanao, Sir Jerome, because one, the DTI, the Department of Trade and Industry, actually came up with this OTOP Next Gen project, and that's one thing to look forward to. The OTOP Next Gen project is actually an upscale program. That is an upscale program of the previously one town, one product program, wherein when we talk about upscaling in terms of design, in terms of product design, in terms of production volume, we actually partnered with several designers already to improve the design. We also partnered with different line agencies to improve the accreditation requirements of these products so that they could actually export and be marketable. And again, platforms such as the International Food Expo and platforms such as the Manila Fame are actually avenues wherein our micro, small, and medium enterprises of Northern Mindanao, or in Cagayan de Oro particularly, could actually present their products to the rest of the world. We also have this Go Local Store program wherein we mount, this is a high-end, we mount a display system to high-end hotels, we mount display systems to partner malls, This could be seen actually already in Enchanted Kingdom and in Robinson's Ermita. And soon, very soon in Cagayan de Oro, we will be mounting our Otop Go Local store.
One of my dream, and that's why I'm considered the bad boy of Cagayan de Oro, because one of my dream is to see, we will have a trade show at the Glorieta. And I've always want this to see. Because why? Because we can showcase our talents. Right now in the SITEM, we have only one item from Cagayan de Oro, which is the paper.
Handmade.
Handmade.
Steel handmade. Yeah, they have the new lamps.
Yes.
Yes.
And these lamps were actually highlighted at the Manila Fame last October. A special setting was actually the special setting utilized the lamps of no less than Miss Nicole Cabandet. She designed it herself. She is a Cagayanon, and these were highlighted during the Manila Fame October edition of 2016. And in 2017, some of our exhibitors are still at Manila Fame to showcase again the products. This just proves that our products are no longer for our national economy, but for the rest of the world to enjoy.
Yes, you know, two of my favorite topics or favorite departments or ministry to some extent will be tourism and trade, because they go hand in hand. These are the things that will make the city, and that's why I'm pushing for locally made products to be exposed globally, because then it also signifies that it's made in Cagayan de Oro. Now, you've said a lot of programs about the Department of Trade. Is there some SME that you can highlight that has made internationally? I mean, really broke international.
A very good example is again that of the Cagayan de Oro handmade paper. They've actually exhibited at Frankfurt. They have showcased designers' items. And also our stoneware pottery. That's a local product that we have, and they're already exporting. And that's for the crafts and wearables. But for the food, for example, resource-driven products such as cocoa sugar is already making it at the global markets.
Product of Misamis Oriental.
Product of Misamis Oriental. So Real Organic, for example, was highlighted and exhibited at the CL ASEAN Trade Fair. A good number of buyers have actually signified their interest, and I hope that would translate more to in terms of dollar sales. Products such as that of the LAMCO, Linabo Agrarian Multi-Purpose Cooperative, that was actually a farmer-based cooperative, but they're already shipping out tons of
cocoa sugar as well.
Yeah.
And that's again a very good example of a resource-driven product that we, the Cagayanons or people of Northern Mindanao, should be proud of. That again, our local products are making it global.
One of the things that we have to really consider if we want to really go global is to make sure it's halal. Because if it's not halal, it's very hard to penetrate the Muslim market, which is the biggest market nowadays. They travel a lot, they buy a lot. You can just see, if you go down Bulwa, you will see all those buying in push carts are coming from our brothers and the Muslim brothers and sisters. Now, other than that, is there anything that you and DTI is gonna push forward to ensure that we in Mindanao, or particularly Cagayan de Oro, gets a fair share?
We are again intensifying our program. The Ripples Plus program of the Department of Trade and Industry is one of the very good programs that we have, because we partner with the local MSMEs to allow them to go global. For example, the Kiniliban Company of Bukidnon, we actually partner with them hand in hand in terms of their acquisition of certifications to allow them to export already. And they are going through a good number of mentoring programs to allow them to, again, acquire more skills, more knowledge in terms of the global markets.
That means we encourage the local community, not just only in Cagayan de Oro, but also the Region 10 particularly. I'm sure Lanao del Norte and Lanao del Sur must have some products that would cater to the Muslim market or the halal market, or even one of the things I remember SITEM wanted to look at, and unfortunately there was some issues, communication issues here as to when they will be coming in to Lanao del Sur, because I wanted to push the brassware.
Yes.
And this is something we can push. Usually it's Dubai who sells a lot of brasswares, or Malaysia. But here in Lanao del Sur, we have the best ones already, which only needs to be pushed forward in order for the ASEAN neighbors to get a crack of this business. I am more interested in selling in the ASEAN market. Of course, a little which will be left in the boutiques in Manila, but I would want us to go really harder on be able to sell in the ASEAN market, or even in China for that matter, because they have the buying power. We always look into, even in tourism, we look at the city or the country that has a lot of buying power. That's where we push our products. And maybe tourism and trade has to really go hand in hand, because this is where you can invite them to come and visit, look at what we have, and eventually they will invest here. Provided we can prove to them safety and security is our foremost, then we have won the hearts of these investors.
That's why
Anything
we
else?
actually would like to, we are actually more than grateful that the President has his own directives in terms of knocking down the problem on drugs and that of security, because that would actually indicate that our city is a safe capital for investments. By having a very safe city, we could actually bring in more investors to invest in the Philippines, and that would in Cagayan de Oro, or particularly, and that would translate to more jobs for our people. Should other investors come in the city, that would create a ripple effect in terms of business enabling environment.
Speaking of exporting, how is the process for our exporters? Is it easy for them to export? Is the requirements just like, is it the ease of doing to export?
Yes, with the elimination of several tariffs, tariff lines across the ASEAN country, that actually allowed a freer flow of goods, freer flow of services within these 10 member states. And with, again, with lower tariff rates, that should call for the collaboration of private entities to be one with the government to allow them to export and exploit the potentials of these ASEAN things. Because again, we just have to comply with the requirements. As Sir Jerome would said, that should we want to export to Muslim countries, then we should have the necessary certification. We just have to collaborate, because again, 99.6% of our total business enterprises in the Philippines are micro, small, and medium enterprises. And micro as they are, when we talk about exporting, that will require volume. And when we need volume, and you are a small industry player, that is actually a sweet surrender for you to collaborate with your co-MSME that's along the same line of industry, and collaborate your resources to tap export market and maximize potential income. Because again, with the certification, with the freer flow of goods within and across the 10 member states, that actually calls for, again, added income, exploitation of potential market who is more than willing to pay for your products, especially that of halal and organic products. You just have to comply with the requirements of the other countries. Compliance is the key for you to maximize income and exploit the potential of ASEAN integration.
Speaking of products, like what are the trends, what are the products right now that are saleable, that the ASEAN countries want and need, food or
Yes,
any
in
other-
terms of food, again, halal and organic products is
number one?
having an increasing trajectory in terms of trend.
But how is our share of these halal products as against other cities?
Do we have
Yeah.
more halal products in Cagayan de Oro?
There are a good number of MSMEs that are actually acquiring halal certification already. But that is actually dependent also sa, in terms of your buyer's requirements of who certifies your products.
How is our share of these halal products as against other cities?
Do we have
Yeah.
more halal products in Cagayan de Oro?
There are a good number of MSMEs that are actually acquiring halal certification already. But that is actually dependent also sa, in terms of your buyer's requirements of who certifies your products.
Yeah, but don't we have we have like if for instance in Malaysia where my last post, GM posting, there is a certifying body, and you really have, because the resort, Kulay Springs Resort, is a halal. In other words, we don't serve pork here. Everything, even everything, the whole thing. If you want, I wanna eat pork, I have to go to Singapore to eat it. But here in the country, one of the biggest market is the Muslim. Because when you hit the Muslim market, you are hitting the Middle East right away. But who is certifying DOST?
For halal?
Or there is a commission here.
Yes, Islamic Dawah of the Philippines actually certifies for
And how many of our products are certified?
there are only a handful of products that are certified by Islamic Dawah. Because again and again, we should be dependent on the requirement of our buyer. They have a listing of
Products?
accrediting body. They have a listing of the accrediting body, and your product should be accredited only by those certifiers before you can supply your product to them. And that's one thing to look into. The requirement of the buyer first. You should look into the requirement of the buyer and comply with the requirement of that specific buyer of yours. Because there are a good number of certifying bodies, like Islamic Dawah of the Philippines and many other halal certifying bodies.
If that's the case, let's tackle Bukidnon. Bukidnon is so fertile because of the weather. To us, Cagayan de Oro is the hub. It's basically where the businessman come and we present the wares of Region 10.
Yes.
What is the product of Bukidnon that we can really push forward? Flowers is currently going to Japan. Cat flowers. The reason for this, that's why there will be an airport in Bukidnon, because every time they go through Cagayan de Oro, the flowers are always late. It has to take the first flight out because it has to go 5 hours to Japan. You miss the flight, timing is wrong. You cannot sell your flowers anymore in Japan. So the reason doing, Senator Mig Subiri was really pushing for an airport, and I think it's gonna work now. Now, other than cut flowers, what other products of Bukidnon can we push?
Pineapple is still a product that's saleable across the world. And again, Bukidnon is our main source of pineapple. The production area is at Pugo Del Monte, and we have Dolo pineapples. And again, those are basic agricultural crops that we have.
Other than pineapple, what else can Bukidnon, what products in Bukidnon can we push to have a global, so that we in Region 10 really make it to the world?
I think we have Bukidnon being very fertile in terms of its land, should value add. They have very good agricultural crops. We should just process it in value add, comply with the documentary requirements, whether that be FDA LTO, whether that be halal certification. We could top the global market when we value add and process it.
Yes, I understand, but I'm trying to be very specific. How are we pushing forward coffee? Let's say for the monks.
Yeah,
are we
monks blend.
opening the market for monks, or are we just catering to the local market? That's one. Other than the monks, there are other, tea.
A good number of industry players, coffee industry players are in Bukidnon. You were right, Sir Jerome, that in terms of agriculture crop or in terms of coffee, our direction towards it would be assisting them in terms of the coffee industry cluster program. Again, the Department of Trade and Industry has this industry cluster program wherein focus priorities on 6 priority industries are given, whether that be through shared service facility, provision of equipments. This is a way to improve productivity. Second, trainings in terms of determining quality of coffee is also given. Trainings in terms of marketing their coffee, packaging their coffee is another thing that we are considering to allow them to export their products.
Okay, in the Cordillera Mountains, they're pushing for coffee, a special one of Arabica that's only there. They really have a lot of coffee buyers. I mean, when I say buyers, these are the people who export. Maybe one day, we will see Cagayan de Oro coffee, or Bukidnon coffee being served in Starbucks or Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a new Canadian competitor of Starbucks. Now, how can you assist that we be able to penetrate that market?
Bukidnon has the resources necessary to supply bigger market. Again, in terms of how could they compete and how could they comply with the requirements of these buyers, it's all about improving productivity, improving their packaging and labeling even, and those are actually key to tapping very good market.
What product? Okay, now you're talking of product development, labeling. Other than the monks that is now landing in the tables in Manila,
That's good.
Now I'm also pushing monks to be served in the hotels in Metro Manila. I want to know what other products can we push other than coffee. Tea? Is there a tea market? Is there a tea product on that side? Rubber?
There's not much tea production in Bukidnon, but there's rubber industry cluster that's developing in Bukidnon. Aside from that of coffee, there's rubber, but not that much.
Okay, you know the Cordillera Mountains. How is the weather of the Cordillera Mountains as against the weather of Bukidnon? Because that is where the coffee and tea is now coming. Maybe if we look into what we can sell that will break the market, in other words, penetrate that market, it's good. Now, other than Bukidnon, what other products? You have the whole range of cities. Other than Bukidnon, what products are you finding in Iligan maybe that we can push? How about Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur? Is there anything in particular, or even Cagayan de Oro for that matter?
Processed fruits and nuts is actually our prime product that we could actually banner worldwide. The 5 provinces have our processed fruits and nuts. In terms of province-specific, Lanao del Norte has the coconut industry. It's basically cocoa land, and we are supplying to the world our coconut produce. Lanao del Norte, we could actually see, and it's really visible that a good number of coconut industries are located in Iligan. That's because Lanao del Norte is a cocoa land. For Camiguin, tourism and then tourism industry in wearables and home style is actually one of the products that's being promoted. Wearables and home style, whether that be they have this sea glass, and we are trying to develop
Sea glass?
sea glass.
What is that?
What's a sea glass?
Those are broken glasses that's actually processed through time sa sea, and these are necessary. They just need necessary product development to tap global market.
How about fun?
glass?
I don't know.
What's
Is
a
that a
sea
ware?
glass?
Is
They're
that
actually
a
broken
glassware?
glasses that's processed naturally. Broken glasses, yung wine glasses. Yes. You
Yung
should
natatapon-
go
yung
to
natatapon
Camiguin
sa-
and visit Balay sa Baybay.
We have a property that's
In
going
Camiguin.
that's soon going to rise in Camiguin.
A hotel?
Yes, a
Wow.
resort.
A resort.
Limkit Kai will have a
That's
resort.
good news to all the tourists.
So, but one of the biggest export that we really do is our talents. When I say talent,
That's true.
you and me are being exported. I was exported. I'm an OFW in the past. So they really look forward to seeing Filipinos. Why? Because the Filipinos are conscientious workers. For as long as you pay me right, they will work.
And why do Filipinos work better outside the country?
that I have yet to see.
I mean,
because you know why?
yeah, no, well, I don't.
Because we have Washington. You know what
Yes,
Washington
dollars.
means? The dollars. We don't like Jose Rizal. So I'm serious. You know, I was in when there was SARS sometime. You know, I forgot which year. In Singapore, we have sorry, not a hotel, but a hospital called Tan Tock Seng. And this is where the infectious disease are confined. You know, patients of infectious disease. Now, if that day that Tan Tock Seng closes, the Filipinos walks out, the hospital is closed. And all the hospitals in Singapore are manned by Filipinos, especially in critical areas like emergency, the emergency room. Operating nurses are from the Philippines. Quite a number of physical therapists. Of course, the nurses, because the difference between Singapore and us, we are a 4-year degree holder, while you can become a nurse if you're even of a 2-year. But they encourage, or they always want to get Filipinos. As a matter of fact, the radiologist department of Tan Tock Seng Hospital is literally uprooted from St. Luke's.
Wow.
You take one out, the whole thing closes. That's how the Filipinos have contributed in Singapore. That's why the biggest export we do is people, because we have the know-how. Other than people, what else can we export?
So that actually, with the people going out, that actually calls for a bigger challenge for government workers, because we have to intensify more our communication that we need very good talents. We still need the Filipino to work in the Philippines. That's why we need to intensify our communication to allow investors to come in the Philippines.
Oh, you're opening a can of worm here. Trust me, for a discussion. Okay.
That actually, again, gives us more challenge.
But
We
it's
need to-
actually an advantage if our manpower will,
work abroad.
work abroad, because of
More
course they will
dollars
send
will come
money
To
in the
me,
country.
you know, I'm very pro exporting talents. But one thing I want to make clear is that before you're exported, make sure you know every corner of your job.
Right.
Because you are competing to not just ASEAN, but the whole world. And you cannot deprive people from leaving the country.
Right, that's true.
If not, the pockets are empty. I'd rather have a bank account happy, because they can send money to the Philippines.
Yeah.
It's just sad sometimes they get into trouble, but basically, the Filipinos are conscientious workers, and that's why they are a hit in any part of the world, regardless of where they are sent, whether it be in the Middle East or, like for instance, the domestic help, for instance. In Singapore, or even in Hong Kong for that matter, when I was in Shanghai, we had a client who didn't want to accept Shanghai because he was based in Hong Kong. He wants to ensure that his executive is a housekeeper is included. But in China, there are a lot of issues there. So they had to change the name executive housekeeper. Well, in principle, it's domestic help. He will not accept the posting if he doesn't get his Filipino. Why? Because the Filipino is a graduate of
A four-year course.
A four-year course.
Yes.
So, of course, they take advantage. May domestic help ka na, may tutor ka pa.
Yes.
So, basically, that's the way it is.
That's true.
And that's why we excel. That's why we're mabenta tayo in short. In Singapore, the one who gets the highest paid among the domestic help is the Filipino. Ang pinaka-lowest rank, I cannot mention, but they might shoot me here. But there is a country that no one wants to touch. But Filipinos, unahan. That's why the Filipinos command a better rate. Both when I was in Hong Kong or even when I was in Singapore. They really, Malaysia, not to a certain extent, but there's still a lot of Filipinas who work as domestic help. But other than that, the people that, the graduates of today, my advice to you guys is learn first in the Philippines. And then when you are so ready, you can compete with the whole market. That's when you go abroad. Then you command a better rate. If you are just going to be a trainee, it's nice for exposure, but you're not guaranteed employment, especially in the ASEAN countries, because you're competing with their locals as well. So now what we can probably do is compete with our products. Other products that we can really export, other than, of course, our own people, is our biggest, I think, export, other than
any product.
Any product. Is there anything you want to show us to strengthen this ASEAN region?
I believe Mr. Erwin has a PowerPoint. Basically, just to see the region in terms of, in against to the ASEAN economic community.
ASEAN is also the most dynamic sub-region and the most dynamic region in the world. Philippines being the fastest growing country in ASEAN. And to note, this should be exploited, the ASEAN market should be exploited, because Vietnam and Indonesia alone accounts for 60% of ASEAN's population. So we should focus more on the quick wins. With 60% of ASEAN's population, we could actually promote our products more there. And Philippines, yes, Sir Jerome, you were right that the best export of the Philippines is its manpower, because Philippines has the youngest workforce with 23.3 years old medium age, and considered and has an upward trajectory of credit rating. Positive credit ratings were given by Fitch Ratings, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, RNI, and NICE. We just have to maintain competitiveness, promote cross-border complementation, sustain inflow of investments by promoting that our country is a safe capital for investment, and that is, again, for the benefit of the general consumers. With AEC, the Philippine businessmen should, one, invest in other ASEAN countries, attract investments from other ASEAN, attract global firms to establish here in the Philippines or even in Cagayan de Oro or in Mindanao, directly export to ASEAN countries, indirectly export by being part of the regional value chain. We could just supply a portion of the raw material that's needed by the whole value chain, and tap growing domestic and market leverage economies of scale. By leveraging in terms of economies of scale, we actually mean that we have to improve our productivity. We need to collaborate with our micro, small, and medium enterprises to cater to the needs or the demand of the global market. When we talk about Philippine economy, let us not look at the negative side, because the Philippine government is looking into protecting its own industries. Because when they have enlisted products under sensitive list and under highly sensitive list, this would actually mean that for products under the sensitive list, tariff lines could only be brought down to a maximum of up to 5%. And products under the highly sensitive list, tariff lines should be limited up to 35%. Tariff lines are reduced up to 35%. And this is a way for Philippine government to protect its own industry. There are technologies that may be applied. The key also to improve productivity would be like through mechanization, improving production by mechanizing. There are a lot of other means, and again, for northern Mindanao, there are industry clusters that we are actually focusing our attention on. For example, the coffee, cacao, rubber cluster, processed fruits and nuts, the poultry cluster, cocoa coir cluster, and a good number of clusters as well. Abaca, bamboo, seaweeds even.
Abaca.
ICT.
Where is Abaca? In Misamis Oriental?
Misamis Oriental and in Lanao del Norte. We also have Abaca in Bukidnon. Abaca-based products in Bukidnon. These are priority industries that we are pouring more of our resources in, because these industries would actually are actually our banner products. Yes, there may be challenges, but there are opportunities as well. Challenges in terms of manufacturing. Where should we source our supply chain, technology may be a problem. Logistics and infra support may be a problem. Accreditation and licensing requirement or certification requirement may be a challenge. And even financing. But again, look at the other side of the coin. Look at the opportunities now. There is a developing business in a target market. There's a, like for example, Sir Jerome was even reiterating earlier on that for products, you should focus on acquiring halal certification to have a niche market to the Muslim countries. There are government agencies and even non-government agencies that facilitates entry into alternative markets. You just have to network and link. You just have to tap different platforms, trade promotion platforms that would allow you to maximize and exploit the opportunity of ASEAN integration. And you have to take advantage of the benefits for the Philippine businesses. For example, lower tariff lines and entry barriers were already eliminated by other 9 other member states. Then we should maximize the tariff lines in this 9 other member countries were already reduced to 0, and entry barriers were even eliminated. And this should be a positive point that the businessmen of Cagayan de Oro even should look into the opportunities rather than worrying yourself with the challenges. No? Again, there are a good number of competitiveness programs and support programs that our government, all other national line agencies offer. But I could only speak in behalf of the Department of Trade and Industry. That in the Department of Trade and Industry, we have this industry clustering programs. We cluster businesses that operates in the same line of business, because it is in this way that we could maximize the government resources. We could actually cater to a good number of enterprises by clustering them together. And also we have this shared service facility program. With the shared service facility program, we actually allow micro, small, and medium enterprises, associations, and cooperatives to make use of equipments, production
equipment from DTI.
These are equipments, production equipments that we give to government institutions. We allow MSMEs to utilize for free of use. They could actually use it for a certain number of years. Then when they are able to operate at the normal scale, then that's the time that we transfer those equipments to other micro, small, and medium enterprises. We also have the negosyo centers. The negosyo centers are actually avenues for you to acquire more knowledge in running your business. For everybody's information, the first negosyo center was established in Cagayan de Oro, not in Davao, sir, as you are trying to.
But where is it now?
Negosyo center is already transferred at the old
El Salvador.
No, we have a separate negosyo center at El Salvador. We still have a negosyo center in Cagayan, sir. Cagayan de Oro, sir. It's already transferred at the old informatics building.
Yes.
It's across PBCom, China Street. In 2014 alone, we have catered to more than 1,500 clients who acquired, who availed of services, whether that be business registration, training, market linkaging. We offer a good number of services. Yes,
My
sir.
question here is, let's go back to coffee.
Yes, sir. This is
Right there.
right there.
How are we
That's the
going
next
to
one.
promote
Yeah, that's-
Cafe Maramag?
Cafe Maramag, sir. Again, we could not promote only one industry. We would want to promote
All of
cluster on a cluster basis.
Yeah, but my question here, now, you know, the monks has finally penetrated Rustan's shelves.
Yes,
But
sir.
I have yet to see that organic and the Cafe
Of
Maramag.
course,
which-
sir. All other coffee manufacturers are actually being developed. For example, that of the Hiniliban coffee, that could be priced at premium because packaging is already mature, and we could already the acquisition of certification is on its way, sir.
That one.
Hiniliban coffee.
Where is Hinilipan, the organic?
Yes, sir. At Manila Fortis.
Manila Fortage.
Oh.
Yes.
This is international or domestic operation?
They are about to export, sir, because they still need to acquire certification. The halal certification, laboratory analysis were already done, and that's a good starting point to
Cafe Maramag.
Cafe Maramag, sir, we have assisted them in terms of training still because they still need to, again, acquire laboratory analysis. The microbial analysis, nutritional facts analysis, and all other laboratory analysis needed to acquire
To be able to export.
certifications.
So,
Yeah. So I guess we have discussed a lot, especially about MSMEs and in relation to ASEAN and how they are able to comply with the needs of the ASEAN market. So right now,
people who'd be interested to ask questions, the floor is open.
we have here from the media, we have Mark Francisco of Cagayan de Oro Times. We have Sir Urcel Mandig. And we have also from Sunstar, we have Mr. Sean Sulugan. We have Miss Casey, and we're from Acadeo. We have from PIA interns as
She's
well.
no longer with Acadeo. She's moved to her own
Yeah, she has her own
What's
website,
your new your page?
Explorers Channel,
Wow.
for adventure-seeking
Yeah.
audience.
We encourage a lot of bloggers to come here in this
Yes.
telecast because you can help. Social media, don't get me wrong when I said the national papers of publications are still there, but you know, the social media is an avenue we have to reckon with. Those who don't know what social media, you're in trouble. Trust me.
Grabe piga ang economic community, but that's good. All right, so many discussions we have today, and we are very thankful to DTI for having Sir Erwin Hamaka to be with us. So, yeah, thank you so much, Sir Erwin, for being with us today and explaining in details the ASEAN Economic Community.
Thank you very much, Jam, and thank you very much, Sir Jerome. On behalf of our regional director, again, we are really grateful because this is one of the platforms wherein we could intensify communication of what ASEAN Economic Community is all about and what are the benefits of complying to the requirements of the international market. And again, we would like to call for all other MSMEs out there to collaborate and be one with our cause that there is still a lot to exploit in the ASEAN Economic Community, in the ASEAN integration. You just have to collaborate.
Yes, and I really look forward to working with DTI because it also generates tourism, and we'll see what's in it because we're still waiting for the next two more
Pillars.
pillars.
Yes, in July is something to look forward to, because again, you have senior officials, senior ministers who will be coming from our 10 member countries.
Okay.
Good. Well, we are looking forward to a better region through the integration of ASEAN, the ASEAN integration. We should benefit. We, particularly here in Mindanao, not just Cagayan de Oro, but the whole of Mindanao. We take advantage with our president being from Mindanao. Jan?
Yep, that's true. So we are also calling, we're in support to DTI in terms of entrepreneurs, MSMEs, to really go global. I think we should think global this time, think ASEAN with our products. So we'd like to thank Lux Hotel's General Manager, Jerome De La Fuente, for spending time with us and for this beautiful venue, and of course to our guest, DTI Senior Trade and Industry Development Specialist, Mr. Erwin Hamaka. And thank you as well to our media friends who came here today, and to our avid televiewers. Of course, our bloggers, thank you so much. And we'd like to extend our big thanks to Parasat Cable TV in behalf of our Regional Director, Franklin P. Gumapon. This is Jam Rukat. Thank you for your consistent support in this talakayan. Until the next episode, thank you and good day.
The ASEAN community is highly integrated, competitive, and innovative. The ASEAN aims to develop a regional economy that supports sustained high economic growth by increasing trade, investment, and job generation. The ability to respond to global trends and international standards enable the region to advance a single market agenda through a more seamless movement of investment, skilled labor, and deeper integration in trade and services. It is a community that promotes productive growth with enhanced micro, small, and medium enterprises that will make the region more competitive and dynamic. The ASEAN community shall have a more enhanced role and voice in addressing international economic issues in the global arena.
The ASEAN enforces a rules-based community that ensures our people enjoy human rights and freedom. A community that adopts a comprehensive approach to security and resolves differences and disputes through peaceful means. The region recognizes and respects shared values, norms, and the fundamental principles which will make ASEAN more united and cohesive. The community aims to strengthen its engagement with other external parties, as well as respond to global developments and the ever-changing demands of the international arena. The ASEAN, as powered by its member states, seeks to build and create a more conducive environment towards a progressive world.